We are live, and I have confirmation. I just went to our YouTube stream that I hack job set up, and it is live, which is really exciting. Andy, how you doing, man?
Doing great, man. Always doing better when I hear the Hotcakes intro song,
Oh,
man. I'm back in the living room. It's like 1987, 88. I'm playing Mega Man on the carpet. Always makes me feel better.
dude, Mega Man was so hard. Such a good
Yeah,
game, but
yes.
so brutally hard. A lot of games back then were really hard, but Mega Man was like such a cool concept, and I think that's why it was like I don't care how hard this game is, I want to keep playing because every time you beat a boss, you get their power. Like, how cool is that?
No
It's pretty
doubt.
awesome. But we are back. It has I actually looked. The last time we did a Hotcakes live stream was June of 2024. So it has
Oh,
been just over, actually
almost a
more
year.
than over a
Yeah.
year at this point, a year and a quarter. And we're back, and I'm excited for this because we have new trajectory, we have new ideas, same old hotcakes with a little bit of an 80s flair to it. We are, if you notice the title, you're like, what? I thought it was Fifth Wall Hotcakes. Well, it's UKON Hotcakes for everybody listening in here. There is a chat, but I don't know if it's working. So if you're here, say hi. If you're here and you say hi and it doesn't show up, it means it's not working, and I apologize. But UConn is in the past year, Fifth Wall started to work on building some technology that's going to make cyber insurance ridiculously easy for our agent partners, for our MSP partners. The whole goal is to simplify it. And I know everybody says we need to make cyber insurance easier, but we're actually doing it. And we're pumping a lot of resources into creating some tech that's going to make that the reality. So rather than say, oh, there's this confusion, there's Fifth Wall over here, and then there's that Yukon platform, we just decided to kind of align the brand and say, let's just all exist as Yukon to eliminate any confusion. So that's kind of where we come from. My name is Will Brooks. I am the channel chief at Yukon. That's, as I've said multiple times in a lot of conversations, that's a totally made up title that doesn't mean anything in any other industry, and I love it. Total SaaS move, right? So I am joined by my co-host and friend and I guess co-worker, Andy Runyon. Andy, introduce yourself, man.
I'm Andy. I'm our director of strategic alliances over here, and what that means, if we're in the 80s and 90s mode, I refer to myself pretty commonly as the John Stockton of UConn. Don't do a lot of scoring on my own. I just pass out assists, right? I work with a lot of our partners. I introduce people. I connect folks. Our MSPs that need help and guidance with legal, with building out their stack, our agents that want to connect with MSPs or connect with markets. I kind of function as that, connective glue over here at UConn.
Awesome. And yeah, we're going to be bringing you hotcakes a couple of times a month here, taking some, and the name, don't let the name confuse you. The first time we ever did one of these, Andy did show up with a plate of pancakes.
And see,
And
all I've
that
got is
was,
coffee today, man. No,
that's not
no,
right.
no actual
I don't
pancakes.
even have that. All I've got is this Super Mario water bottle, but that's got to stay with the vibe. Super Mario did technically come out in the 80s. So it didn't have this kind of branding at the time, but now it does. Anyway, we're really excited here to really bring, when we say hotcakes, I mean, obviously it's a play on the word hot takes, and it was a typo at the time. If you notice on your keyboard, the T and the C are actually nowhere near each other. So I don't know how, well, I guess they're kind of near each other, but they're not next to each other. I don't know how that typo happened, but I kind of love it. So we're gonna work through the cyber insurance industry. That's what we're gonna bring you: news in the cyber insurance industry, things we're seeing, things we're reacting to, things that are going on, and also we're gonna be bringing some guests on. We have a mystery guest today. I guess I already gave away half of it, but she'll be joining us in about 10 minutes here. So pretty excited about that. And in the meantime, Andy, we're gonna share a couple of hot takes to get things started. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And one of them is, fresh off the griddle, whatever, right,
Yes.
hot on the plate.
You
And
should make
I'll
pancakes on a griddle because if you try it in a frying pan, it will work, but they'll get progressively hotter and it takes a long time. So use a griddle.
That's my personal preference is the griddle.
There's no
Um,
preference. That's
so
the rule.
yeah, let's see here, and I'll share real quick. My hot cake for the day is the new net diligence report, which literally just came down if you'll notice here, just came down September 17th, right? So this is a fresh thing. Um, NetD puts out a report every single year ahead of their big conference, big summit, and kind of breaks down what all's going on in the industry. And don't mind, we can post this, in the chat or upcoming the link here if you want to dive in. You can see the key takeaways here. It talks about ransomware is still the top cause. We are seeing a little bit of a shift, right, away from ransomware to things like social engineering, but ransomware still reigns supreme, right? And just some numbers here. Not surprised to see that small to medium-sized enterprises make up 90% of the claims. But what really stuck out to me, and I want to scroll down here a little bit, right, is this very last bit here, kind of tucked away at the end. This is a little bit of confirmation on something that we've been seeing on the insurance side. Small to medium-sized enterprises recovered 69% of their incident cost, right? And you may see that and go, oh, that's not that bad. It's more than 2/3, right? But think about it from an insurance standpoint, right? If I was to have auto insurance and I was to total my vehicle and I only got 70% of that vehicle back in the insurance settlement, I'd be pretty hot, right? If I ran a business and I had a $2 million building, right, and it was blown away by a tornado and I only got 1.4 million back and I was still $600,000 in the hole when I went to rebuild, I'd be pretty upset. And what we're seeing, and this is just, that number is just further confirmation of what we've seen from other reports like the Sophos report in 2024, what we see that comes through our front door when we consult, and that is that small to medium-sized businesses in 2025 are having a very, very hard time quantifying their risk and getting good advice on how much insurance to buy. It's not that the policies aren't paying out, right? We just saw a stat from CFC that said that they paid out 98% of claims in 2024. It's not that they aren't being paid out. It's that the limit does not match the risk. Therefore, the limit is capped out, and there's some quote-unquote meat left on the bone. So that's my hot cake for the day is go get your risk quantified. And, if you're a $50 million healthcare entity with PHI line all over the place, you might need more than $1 million of insurance.
Let's make that hot cake a little spicy here. So if what Andy's really saying is don't just be satisfied going out and getting willy-nilly insurance. You need to know your risk. Too many businesses do not, and then they end up buying less insurance than they need, right? Have you ever seen those commercials, Andy, where it's like the people standing on like this beautiful landscape and they're like, this injury lawyer got me 90% more than insurance would pay out. Yeah. And it's funny because it's good marketing, but at the end of the day, it's like you just bought terrible insurance. You probably went to Geico, said, give me the state minimums, got what you needed, and then walked away. And so then you got into an accident and Geico paid out exactly what you bought from them. I mean, it's not Geico's fault, right? So there is a reality here that you need to understand your business risk. And if you're not carrying enough insurance and then you have an incident, it's going to bite you in the butt. And ultimately you didn't buy enough insurance, and that stinks, but that's what happened. Right. Speaking of buying insurance, Andy, my hot take's a little more intense, and I might get fried by the leadership at my company for bringing something like this up, but I'm going to say it anyway. So, and once we bring in our guest, I'd be curious to know what her thoughts are on it as well. But that's the wrong article. Let's see it's always fun trying to figure out exactly which window I'm trying to share. All right, this one. All right, so Farmers Insurance reports data breach affecting over 1 million customers. Farmers Insurance. And this is not meant to call out any one insurance carrier. There are other insurance carriers such as Erie, Philadelphia, that have undergone cyber attacks actually fairly recently, right? And we're buying cyber insurance, and we're saying, I'm going to go buy cyber insurance from a carrier, and then we get news reports of carriers getting hit with cyber incidents. And that frustrates me beyond belief, because what that tells me is that no, you know what? It doesn't frustrate me. Actually, it's the opposite. It frustrates me that it hits the news and it gets everyone scared. But it's actually the opposite. And my understanding is to look at this and say, you cannot look at a cyber insurance carrier and say, oh, they shouldn't have had a data incident because they sell cyber insurance. It's like, that's literally not how a cyber attack works or how insurance works. Right? Insurance is saying, hey, look at the risks. understand you cannot completely eliminate risk, so you're going to then hand off some of that risk to an insurance carrier to pay it, right? So insurance carriers have their own insurance for a reason, and the reality is you cannot any person. I'm going to talk cybersecurity for a second. Any person who is a professional in the cybersecurity space, if they are worth their weight in salt, I don't know if that's even the right phrase, but I'm going to say it. If they're worth their weight in gold or salt or whatever preservative or financial structure you want to use, if they know what they're doing, they will tell you it is impossible to 100% guarantee that someone will not get hit by a cyber attack. So if you look at a company like an insurance carrier who gets hit by a cyber attack, right, the reality is it could happen to anybody. It's impossible to completely eliminate it, but it hits the news and everybody freaks out because they're like, well, I'm buying my insurance from these guys. Well, that's why other coverages exist too, right? Like reputational damage and uh, business interruption recovery, payroll coverages, like all that kind of stuff exists for a reason. So my hot take is that I get annoyed by news articles that kind of instill fear into things. Like even at this picture, like what is happening in this picture? It's like, talk about 80s. It's like someone breaking through a cyber slipstream or something to try and I don't know. That looks like someone was diving into stock photos on Adobe Express and being like, oh, what's something that looks scary?
The magma is coming from underneath to overtake us all.
The magma. Oh man. Anyway, that's my hot cake for the morning.
No, but
we
that's
have a
man,
lot
that's,
more.
that's I mean, like to real quick to add on to that before we bring our guest on here. Who knows cyber risk more than anybody else? Managed service providers, right? Like, I mean, those guys, they work in it every single day. Do you think that MSPs are immune to breaches? Of course they're not, right? Like, I mean, we've been at conferences where very, very well respected names in the industry, like Robert Chaffee, get up and talk about an event that he has been through, right? I got a call a couple weeks ago, the human element. Got a call a couple weeks ago, an MSP that we work with. One of their employees had shared banking information when they shouldn't have, and they lost $200,000 over it, right? So nobody understands cyber risk like MSPs, right? And they still suffer through this stuff. So it just goes to show you, if you read that and you have the opinion of, oh, we buy insurance from them, so it shouldn't happen to them, or, oh, we buy cybersecurity from them, it shouldn't happen to them, it really does, paint the picture that, this can happen to literally anybody.
Right. It's like asking, can fire departments suffer fires?
Anybody ever broken into a police station before?
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, exactly.
Exactly. It's just the kind of thing where you're like, why do we look at it sometimes and still fear? But so I'm pretty excited to bring our guest in here. She is waiting in the lobby and I want to let her in. So I don't know how we didn't even talk about how we're going to announce this. So I'm just going to let her in and then we can talk a little bit. Also, I've never done this, so let's see if she pops in. Mercy, can you hear us? Hello. Mercy, hello.
I can hear you.
Hooray! Hello.
Hey, there she is. All right.
I feel like I need to raise my standing desk here so I'm the same height as Mercy in this video. And now Andy just looks way tall.
And I'll just be the giant in the middle. How about that?
Mercy, how are you doing today?
I'm fine. I wore my Cleveland shirt, but you guys can't see it unless I stand up. I'm standing up for my
Oh,
Guardians
nice.
here.
Yeah, and I love it. I mean, I'm a Cubs fan. We've talked about this before. Healthy rivalry, two lovable loser franchises. So I love that we're both in baseball mode today. That's
we
great.
are both in baseball today.
I love it. Mercy, before we jump in, because I just said your name like everybody knows who you are, do you mind just sharing a little bit about yourself, and we can kind of go from there, just so people know who they're.
I have been in the business longer than both of you put together, in the insurance industry, and I just go way back. I started as a CSR, just like most people. Oh yeah, my glamour shot from the 80s.
I love it. That's great.
I just moved into the agency that I ended up being a partner in, and I went out and got the fancy shot back then, and
Don't we
I
all?
started out way back right out of high school, and I've never left the industry the whole time.
That's awesome.
So-
Were you? When did you pivot more into an interest in cyber? Because I know cyber has been around a while, but it hasn't really become mainstream for a while.
I had no intentions of pivoting into anything. Okay, I was about three quarters of the way out the door, and I went out and did a cold call, and it was a tool and die shop, teeny little tool and die shop, mom and pop, and the man said, "We've got a problem with a claim. Can you help us?" And I said, "I'll try, you know." So they had one of our famous carriers, and they had a cyber loss. And what had happened, what eventually we found out happened, was the daughter was an addict, and she sold the password to the system. And someone at the local university knew that there was something in those computers that they could possibly sell. And it turned out, unfortunately, her father was doing work for Caterpillar in the Department of Defense.
Oh no.
So they
No
literally shut them
CMMC
down.
back then.
They shut them down. So it got me moving. She asked me to start looking at, where was the coverage and why was the insurance company denying it? And it was about 2017, and she had one of our famous companies, and they'd never written a policy that of cyber, and they didn't understand it. So they got panicky, and they just threw $10,000 of the EDP coverage at her and said, "Hey, here's something for you." So that kind of got me started. I started trying to find who's going to quote this and how do they quote it. And once I got digging into it a little bit, I was a couple of months in, and the boss said, "Good, now you're our expert. You're going to do lunch and learns for the clients." And you bring a bunch of clients in and you're talking ransomware, and you know what they all said? "We're not going to get ransomed."
Not us. Never.
No,
Yeah.
not in our town, and I'm thinking, after I did about three of these, I thought, that's just stupid. They don't want to hear it. There's got to be something. And this was when cyber was starting to emerge. You started
Right.
to see business interruption coming in, because that
Right.
wasn't in the original cybers I was even quoting. And after the business interruption, then the crime came on.
Right.
And suddenly the bell went off. And I
Right.
said, look, they all have a bank account.
Yep.
And everybody with a bank account has an exposure, and that's how I sell it.
I was going to
That's
say, I've
awesome.
seen a lot of your posts in the past, Mercy, and a lot of times that's kind of what you lead with, is the importance of everybody's going to, and we say this all the time, even when you're selling cyber, to have conversations about what their actual financial potential loss is
Yeah.
makes a much bigger impact than just saying, well, you should carry this coverage because what could happen if, right? Like it's just,
It's
it's a
all
very,
stories. It
yeah.
comes down to telling the story that they're going to understand. Now, some of them, yeah, they're going to get ransomed, and you're seeing and business interruption and then the money to me is what's important right now. And that's the claims that I've had. I've had business interruption claims and the social engineering claims. That's what I see in my area. I've never seen a ransom.
Yeah. Mercy, just to reciprocate a little bit, I know we flashed the picture there. I want to show you, Andy. I came into insurance a little bit later in life, but Will and I were laughing over this. Look, I mean, is there a line of insurance that I was not trying to sell in my first year? I was looking back through this, and this was my first little slick that I would leave behind, right? And I mean, it was bops and malpractice and personal home auto
Yep.
watercraft, and cyber was embedded in there. And I was looking back on this, and I was thinking as you were telling your story there, if you had asked this guy in 2019, hey, explain to me how my business, we're a local small mental health clinic. We see about 300 or 400 people in rural Arkansas. Explain to me how a cyber attack could impact us on a day by day basis, or what that might look like. I would have never been able to answer that in 2019, So just kind of going back down road and looking at some of those early images of my insurance career. We all learn by experience, I guess,
Sure
is
we
the
do.
point. Like listening to
Sure
you
we do.
talk through that first claim, which by the way, that is a humdinger of a first claim. Oh my gosh, I mean, like that wasn't like somebody picking off 10 grand from an invoice. There
I
was
know.
addicts
Well,
and stuff being sold. That's
yeah.
an amazing story.
But that's how I fell, okay, as we usually say in insurance, how I fell into cyber.
Of
And
course.
it intrigued me, and I don't like computers. Those of you that know me know I screw these things up terribly. So it was very unusual for me to even be involved, but I saw the other side of it. I saw what the people part of it was. And it really has nothing to do with the computers itself. It's all the people behind it. So what we're working with here and trying to protect them, it's still protection, okay? Now, no matter how you look at it, it's still protection. So whether it's computers or it's property or whatever. And so I started taking classes and listening to people. I talked to Andy. Andy, when did you and I talk? Probably 2021, maybe?
Yeah, 21, 22,
Yeah.
somewhere around in there. I mean,
Yeah.
we've known of and about each other for about 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah, I talked with other people and we exchanged stories and what do you think and how does this work and little by little stuff just started to fall together and it got to the point where it's like I've got this guy that needs cyber. Okay, let me handle it. So I am basically the person at the office that does all the quoting. I'll go out and do presentations if they don't want to do them. I'm the one that they turn to and say, what do I do? How do I do this? How do I handle it? So I ended up being just the diva and the guru at the office. So that's how that worked out. And I think every office needs a diva or a guru. Okay? You had said something to me about that. What do I think? If you're a small agency, okay, which many agencies are, less than 10 people, it's hard to find somebody who's willing to take the time to do all the training and all the education and keep up with it because let's face it, there's not enough commission in it. Okay,
Right.
you can't spend your life writing nothing but cyber unless you're in one of the big.
Big market.
Yeah,
That's it.
and they're going to,
100%.
and they're going to put you on a big salary because you're going to be the guru.
Right.
But if you're a small agency and you want to be selling cyber, two ways you can do it, in my opinion. Give it to someone else. If you've got a friendly competitor
Love that.
that's willing to do it for you, let them do it. Don't be afraid of giving it away because you don't want to get yourself in an E&O situation. And we've had a
Bingo.
couple E&O claims this year against agents already that didn't do it correctly and they've had a problem. Or have somebody come in and act as a consultant for your agency anytime you want them. That's an independent contractor and come in. I've got these 5 people that might need cyber. Write those 5 for him and go off and write 5 for somebody else.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a couple different ways to do it, but it's hard.
I love that too. I mean, it is really hard. But if you're a really small agent, like you said, if it's you and you have maybe one person in your office, to devote that much time to cyber is going to be tough.
It's
And
tough.
it doesn't pay off, right? Like
No.
if you're doing it by yourself. But at what point then would you say an agency has grown to a certain number of employees or whatnot that they should really start looking for a cyber practice lead at their agency?
You're going to need somebody who's going to do the cyber. Well, you're going to need someone that's going to do the whole management liability because cyber is connected to the DNO, which is connected to the EPLI. So you're going to have to basically find somebody who's going to say, okay, I've still got a book of business here, but I'm going to take those on as my extra responsibility. And you're probably looking at an agency with 10 to 25 people, and even that's hard because it's somebody that's going to be constantly updating. You know how much cyber changing is and
Oh,
how
yeah.
fast. I mean, from day to day, those policies are changing constantly. So you've got to have somebody that's willing to sit down and every night. I mean, my Google alerts for cyber and data breach and everything, I get those all day long just popping up in the computer. So I'm willing to do that, but I had a book of business already. So it wasn't for me to survive, okay?
Right.
I already had a book of business. And
Well,
that's
and
basically what you need.
I really appreciate, Mercy, you pointing out the commission issue. You know, I mean, the title of the hotcakes today is the elephant in the agency, and a lot of times people don't want to talk money, right? Because they don't want to sound greedy or that it's all about money. But the truth of the matter is if you're a commission paid agent and all you write is cyber policies, when compared to other policies, work comp, business auto, they're very small and the commissions are less. And I mean, in my history, right, individually, as Andy Runyon, I've got conversations where I sat down with my boss, and my boss said, "Dude, you're going to starve to death squirrel hunting
Yep.
cyber, right?" And so I think that point is very, very valid. And I think that kind of getting it out there as we talk to these agencies about like where does that line sit, right? And if you see, and this is again my opinion, if you see your agency and the revenue and the gross written premium in your agency sliding more towards commercial business than personal lines, right? That's a pretty good indicator that you might want to dress up on the cyber stuff. And again, it is an E&O exposure, right? Have somebody within the agency that understands it, that can go in and tandem with the other producers, right? That's what I did. We had a farm guy, right? I remember one time going in with the farm guy. It was so funny. He had on his boots and his hat, and jeans and belt buckle, and we're driving in the middle of nowhere, Arkansas, down by Newport, 15 minutes off the main highway. And we sat down with a guy that had been farming the same land since the 1970s, right? And Devin, shout out to Devin.
Hi, Devin.
Right? Yeah, hey Devin.
We don't know who you are, but hi.
He's not listening, right? He's out in a bean field somewhere. But I mean, he comes in there with the relationship and goes, "Hey, talk to this nerd over here with the glasses," and it was great because we sat there for an hour and answered questions, and this guy that was in his 70s that had been farming for 40 years looks at us and goes, "Guys, the way I figure it, I've been doing this long enough. It's not the stuff that I know that's going to get me. It's the stuff that I don't know."
The stuff you don't
Yeah.
know.
And so to your point, I think these are good talk tracks, right? Of like, how does the agency tackle something that doesn't pay great premiums but leaves a massive E&O exposure?
Yeah, and it is massive email exposure. Now we've got the personal cyber. Okay,
Right.
that's coming
Right.
into it too. Now, that's a little easier because basically, in a lot of the agencies are just tacking it on to the homeowner's policy and saying, hey, you're
Right.
paying $50 more, but you got the personal cyber. Although there's a lot of good new policies that are standalone that are coming out that are going to be spectacular for personal cyber. Yeah, it's tough. It is so hard because it does take a lot of time and energy to keep up with it. And not everybody wants to take that time and energy for no money, okay? And basically that's
Right.
what it is. It's not much money. What are we getting? If you're talking SMBs, you're talking $3,000 to $5,000 a premium, most of them.
Right.
Yeah, at 10 to 15%, you'll starve to death. You will
Right.
starve to death. So you're better off if you can find an associate that knows it well, that's willing to handle it for you, let it go. Don't put yourself in a bad position. And I know some of the people that are on with us here probably feel the same way. It's just not worth their time and effort to get down and dirty with it.
How do you
Go
how
ahead.
do you reconcile that concept, Mercy? So let's say you and I are agents in the same network, and we're at a networking event, and I'm just talking about how much I hate cyber, and you're like, well, I do a lot of cyber, and we're buddies. You helped me open my half and half a couple of times because it was really hard for me to open because my hands are too big. And that was a post Mercy did a while back, and I think of Mercy every time I open a new bottle of half and half now. So just so you know, that was branding, that was marketing, and it stuck with me. So well done. But all that aside, how do we create that agreement that it's like, well, I'm going to pass this cyber off to Mercy, but also I don't want Mercy to steal my entire book of business.
Yeah, and that is the situation you have to have. You have to have somebody that you can trust and say, look, now I'm going to be in a little bit different position after the end of the year. I'm going to semi-retire. I'm walking away from my book, and I'm just going to be an independent contractor with the agency, and I'll handle the cyber. But I'm also going to be going out and teaching cyber and handling it for other agencies. And I'm going to offer my services and say, here, I will come in, I will go through your book, I will write the cyber, I won't touch anything else. You know me, I've been in this business a lot of years. You can trust me. It's got to be somebody you can trust, okay? And if you want me to go in and write your book and explain it to everybody and keep it up, I'll be happy to do that for you. And you figure out a split. But somewhere along the line, if you get enough of it, somebody's going to have to learn it, okay? And that's the hard part, getting somebody who wants to learn it. it's difficult. It's not easy. That's not easy coverage to learn anymore. So,
Well,
Yeah.
let's go back to the elephant, right? Let's talk about the thing nobody wants to talk about. If you don't learn it, right? Let's
yep,
say you've got this good, healthy commercial book, right? And you've got manufacturing, and you've got healthcare, and you've got all the stuff that drums up good PNC premium, and you don't learn cyber insurance, and your direct competitor does. Mercy, what
yeah.
happens then?
Well, you're going to lose it. You're going to
That's
lose your
it.
book.
That's it.
Eventually, you're going to lose your book. And we've got one right now. I literally this morning with one of our young producers, he's got an account that everybody in the county knows, and they're with an agency that just threw on the $25,000 of cyber coverage. And I said, okay. And I punched it in and I said, this is what it's going to run him. It's going to run him between this and this, using the least amount of security that I can figure that he would have.
Sure.
And you want me to talk with him? I'll go out and talk to him. And he went out this morning and came back and said, I told him that you're our expert and he wants to talk more about it. I said, fine.
Perfect. No, I love, and listen, and what's cool about that is I've been in those exact shoes before. You and I have a very common background in this. You feel like SEAL Team 6 a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
you're on
yeah.
a special mission, and
Yeah.
I love it. I remember a similar scenario in my history where we had a large manufacturer here, one of the larger manufacturers in our area, and they've been in business for 40 or more years, right? Dating back to the late 70s. And they had never, ever given our agency a shot at anything. We hadn't even been able to quote, right? We didn't have a seat at the table. We weren't in the conversation. And then new CFO comes in. CFO goes to CEO and says, hey, what do you want me to do in my first 60 days? And he said, no stone unturned. Look at everything. Our insurance, the whole deal, right? And he gets to cyber. And he goes, man, I don't know what this is. So he starts working his little network in Northeast Arkansas and says, hey, do you know anybody with cyber? And they go, yeah, go talk to Andy Runyon. And next thing I know, I've got my agency sitting in, and we ended up writing the account, and we ended up getting the opportunity at other lines, right? But that little sliver crack of cyber is what got me through the door.
It can
Yeah.
help you. Or, the other one we do a lot of contractors. And contractors are oblivious to cyber. Their thing is, well, we're not doing any of that kind of stuff. We don't get into anything like that, which of course they do. And we had one large electrical contractor with a woman who was the CFO, and every year she'd say, nope, we don't need it. We have a great MSP, which they did. We don't need cyber coverage. And she left, and they changed CFOs, and I got a call from the producer that said they want to talk now. And he had gone out several different times with the proposal and tried to sell it. And I went in the door, and 5 minutes later I walked out with the signature. He said, how did you do that? I said, because I hit them with what they want. They're worried about their bank account.
Yep.
They got money coming in and out, ACHs and all these things. That's all they care about. They want about their bank account. So, yeah, you just have to try and learn to deal with it if you're going to be in this business, or you're going to start losing it. You're going to lose it.
Yeah. I see like a convergence of a lot of things. So it is a potential E&O issue, right? So you really shouldn't be selling it if you don't understand it.
That's true.
At the same time, if you don't understand it and you don't sell it, you're probably going to start losing clients.
Yeah.
So the moral of the story here is, if you're an agent, you should know cyber at least somewhat, or to Mercy's point, if it's a smaller business and you're just not capable, you're like, I don't have the capacity to do this for the trade-off, find another agent that's willing to handle that for you. Find that partnership, that cyber insurance partnership that's going to allow you to write that coverage to make sure your clients are better off, because that's going to provide value to you as an agent. And then, so I think that's really important. But how do you, so let's say I'm an agent who wants to get better at this, because then that's where my mind goes is, oh man, I mean, holy moly, if I don't write cyber, I'm going to start losing clients. Mercy set me straight here. I got to start learning cyber. So now there's the easy way where, oh, they got a bot policy. I'm just going to tack on, $250K of cyber coverage, which that's maybe a whole nother episode. That's a hot cake all in and of itself.
I was about to say, that goes back to the hot cake earlier. Yeah.
The question I run into for all of this is, how do you get to a point where you feel comfortable recommending limits, or you feel comfortable? Because that's where the good insurance agent really really sets up their own value, right? Like if I go into my local agent who I work with, and I for my personal line stuff, and they're able to say like, hey, look, what kind of car you drive in? You really think about New York State. Think about how expensive things are here. You really need to make sure you're carrying this much coverage for your auto, and here's why. Here's what all these things mean. It's a no fault state. You got to have PIP, like all this stuff, right? So they know it. So but how do you get to that point? Because the other piece, sorry, I'll let you answer, because the
No,
other
go ahead.
piece is when I had to study for my insurance license, there was one page on cyber and one question on the
One
exam on
question.
it.
Yes.
So while
100%.
all these other, like when I had to study auto, it gave all this information on it, but they're not telling you anything about cyber on these exams yet, or even on the study courses.
Well, the first place you start is with the companies you have. Okay, so if I've got Travelers, if I've got Chubb, if I've got a company that actually has a standalone cyber policy program, standalone, okay, I'm going to go to them first and get their information and try and see what kind of training they have.
Very good.
Outside of that, you can go to many of the different courses. ERMI has a course, the Management Liability Insurance System, which is Cyber Fiduciary, DNO, and EPLI, all four, because they do tend to converge, okay, in larger companies. So you can go to ERMI, you can go to riskandinsuranceeducation.org. Those people I teach for all the time, they have some specialty cyber coverages, and you can go to the Cyber Insurance Institute, okay, which has become the leading place to go out of Israel. And I started to take my classes there. My husband said, "Are you going to join the Mossad?" And I said, No. But anyway, they have it. They have it all together. And they put you through courses where you learn a little security, which I'm really bad on, and you get your insurance ideas. And then from there, you just try and keep up.
Yeah.
You just have
And
to
I'll
keep up.
I'll I'll introduce those. Those are all phenomenal. I mean, and I did a little bit of each, right? Like I worked with our carriers, got on carrier websites, watched videos, started following people on LinkedIn. We work with Cyber Insurance
Sure
Academy.
you do.
Love Asaf and those guys over there. I'll tell you, and this is part shameless plug and also part my history as well. Talk to your wholesaler. Whoever your wholesaler is that you work with. There was a time in my life where like Nicole Limpert is at Amwins, right? And I said shameless plug, and then the first thing I did was promote a competitor, But this is the truth. Nicole, I would just bug the mess out of her, and I'd be like, "Hey, you got 30 minutes this Friday? Like, let's talk, And I'd be like, "What about this? I got this scenario. I got this question, And I picked her brain. She probably is sick to death of me. And then, she raises up somebody that goes and works at a competing wholesaler. But yeah, hit your wholesaler up. They should have case
Yeah.
studies. They should be willing to sit down with your producers and peel off time and introduce you to folks. There should be a level of education coming from our level as well.
And those of us on LinkedIn, all of you
Yes.
two and I,
Yes.
we talk to each other on LinkedIn. I know Joe is on here. Joe, we're all,
Yep.
we follow each other. We see what we're talking about. I don't know how many times I've gotten people that said, "Can I talk to you for 10 minutes? Explain this to me." And yeah, I want people to know. I want people to understand so that they don't make a mess of it and make it bad for the rest of us. Okay, let's that's not a good thing if that happens. So.
And that LinkedIn community is so fun because you never know. I tell people all the time, and this applies to all socials. Some people just creep. They don't like, they don't comment, they don't interact, and then next thing you know, this person who you've had very little interaction with pops up in your DMs and goes, "Hey, I've been watching what you've posted for like the last 2 years, and would you spend 30 minutes with me?" And you're like, "Oh my gosh, like that." I mean, it's the coolest thing, So I just had that happen to me. There was somebody on the MSP side that was looking at coming over to insurance. She reached out and was like, "Hey, do you mind to just talk to me for 30 minutes and like calm my brain? Because I think I'm going crazy. I really want to get into cyber insurance. I want to change careers and like talk me down." And we had a really, really good conversation about that.
Well,
So
that's how I met-
LinkedIn is
Yeah.
a great resource.
Travis Kroger. That's how
Yes.
I met Travis that works
Yep.
with you. And he dragged me out to South Dakota to speak to the agents in South Dakota. And that was a trip. He's a character.
Travis is great.
Oh, my mic's been
Batman.
muted this whole time. He raves about you, Mercy. Every time he brings you up, I think he has a a friend crush on you.
Yeah,
So,
him and a lot of other men. What can I tell you? They just don't show up. I don't know what the problem is.
oh my gosh, I have
Love it.
I do actually have a thought on something you said. So, the LinkedIn world. So if an agent listens in here, the cyber world for insurance feels really small sometimes,
Yep.
because in your on your local level, it can feel like you might be the only agent in your space that's doing this, right? And then so that's the importance of like I hate social media. I've always hated it. I think it messes up people. But LinkedIn's a little different, and it has created a network of people who I would not have met otherwise. And like you said, it's really awesome to be able to reach out to people like Joe, like you, like Jake Nystrom. Like there are people out there who know cyber really well and have the capacity just to enter into conversations about this stuff. So I've appreciated that world. And to Andy, to your point, for people who are looking to get into cyber, like you got to tap as many resources as possible, because back to my earlier point, there are not enough of them on your state level. Like when it comes to the state insurance exams and study materials and stuff, if that's all you rely on, you're getting nothing on cyber, which is dangerous, honestly, because it isn't such a big E&O issue.
I must have posted, and I don't remember what it was a few years ago, on LinkedIn, and that's how I got to know Asaf. He came to me from the Cyber Insurance Institute and said, listen, I want you to take our classes. And I'm thinking, this guy's somebody really big and important, and he wants me to take his class. I better do that. And lo and behold. And I've never met him. I've talked to him on the phone, never met him yet. But, you know, that's changed my life in a lot of ways. I mean, there I was just sitting on LinkedIn being a nobody.
So
So,
All right.
that brings up, and I know we're tight on time, Will, but I do want to ask you this, Mercy, because I want to know, and this is more of a personal question than anything. I don't want to put you on the spot. I know for
Oh,
me,
I'm going to put you on
early
the spot after it, Mercy. So just get ready.
early on, as a guy that has an education background, I don't have a technical background. I didn't start in insurance. I was a teacher and a coach.
They don't even
you know,
have technology where you live.
exactly right. We're still
You had
down
to drive
here
50 miles away to get to this office with internet.
using the abacus and stuff, right? No, but like as a guy who 10 years ago was teaching AP art history and coaching high school baseball, right? There was a time in my professional career where I was starting to share the stage with CISA and MSPs, right? And I had deep imposter syndrome where I was like, man, should I be talking about, you know what I'm saying? Like, am I the guy? Is there not somebody? And I'm interested to know from your background how that evolved for you. Did you ever, I mean, I know that we know that what we know, right? And I know that we've done the work and we've done this, but did you ever have moments where you were sitting there going, man, there's got to be somebody else other than me that's more qualified to talk about
oh,
this?
absolutely. When they first asked me to stand up and talk to these people, I'm thinking, why am I doing this? But I remembered something my mother once told me, because I used to sing when I was younger, and she used to say to me, listen to me. If they could do it better than you, they'd be up there singing, you'd be sitting listening.
That's it. No,
So
it's
I
perfect.
figured, well, I must be the one that knows, or they wouldn't be listening to me. So I'm gonna figure out what this is. So,
No,
yeah,
that's
that's what you can do. That you just have to go out there and throw yourself into it. And yeah, do we all make mistakes? Yeah, sure we do. And we say things we shouldn't say, but you know, you have to be out there. And I truly wish that LinkedIn had been around years ago. I mean, if I'd have started my career and LinkedIn had been around, I'd have been owning, the world by now. But I didn't even get onto LinkedIn until 2020. I mean, I
Same.
didn't.
It's about the same time. Yeah, about the same time that I did.
So, but I've got some followers and they like what I say. And then, I do throw in a little bit of comedy, and then all the lists of the men that I haven't slept with yet and things like that. So,
You guys are going to have to go check that one out. I'm going to, you speak of getting on LinkedIn, and up until, honestly, this is actually a really fun part about the cyber insurance, cybersecurity worlds is they are very active on LinkedIn.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas LinkedIn otherwise for me has always just been I need a job, so I'm going to go on LinkedIn
Yeah.
again.
Right.
Like it was like it's like the dating app of looking for a job. You only need it when you need a job, right?
The
Like
new monster.com, essentially.
I mean, speaking of, you guys were showing off headshots when I was back in my like traditional insurance and financial advising days, I had the same boat, right? Like we had that you got to wear the suit and tie,
Yeah,
like that
Nice.
was the
Yeah.
world, right?
I didn't even
Like
know you owned a
oh,
tie.
nice.
I've never seen you in a
I
tie
own
until
two
right now.
ties. Most actually, I own two neckties. The rest of them are bow ties. For that reason. All right, Mercy, I'm gonna put you on the spot here. I'm gonna put three objections on the screen, and I need you to
Oh,
pick
dear.
one and tell me how you would respond to it. So, I'm too small, it's too expensive, or IT handles it. Which one do you want to respond to? If a client were to come to you with that objection.
Well, the I'm too small, there's nobody too small.
Very
And
good.
again, if you have a bank account and you have human beings that work for you, you are susceptible to all kinds of
Good word.
social engineering. And there's just no way around it. We're human beings. We make mistakes. And I don't care what kind of system you set up, if it's the fanciest security system in the world with the greatest MSPs in the world, all it takes is one person hitting the wrong button and it's over. And you all know that. So that there is nobody too small.
That's perfect.
Fantastic.
Yep. And
That's
I'll tell
something.
you,
I mean, with hotcakes, just the reason I did that is as much as we can get real spicy, I do want people who watch it to learn something, and I think objection handling is probably one of the most helpful things we can do, because a lot of business. I think your point is right on. A lot of businesses are going to say I'm too small, and a lot of times my response to that is no. It's not that you're too small. It's just you're too small to make the news, right? It's like that's the
That's right.
mindset.
That's right.
You're gonna see. I mean, right before you hopped on, right? I said like, oh, Farmers Insurance, Erie, Philadelphia, they
Yeah.
suffered cyber attacks. Guess what? Your tiny little dodgeball emporium. I always use that as my example. Who plays dodgeball? You probably make like 200K a year, right? You're too small. It's like, no, you're just think about this for a minute, right? So, Andy, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, I mean, competing ideas there. I mean, I was going to add to Mercy's point. I mean, I live in a town of 30,000 people in the middle of nowhere, Arkansas. Our funeral home got hit. I mean, like, and I'm not trying to make light of that, but I mean, if a funeral home that does less than $1 million in revenue in a year in rural Arkansas can get hit, guys, literally anybody can, right? If
I
they're
mean,
in the
churches get
crosshairs,
phishing emails from their pastors all the time.
that's it. That's it. And I mean, the idea of, and Mercy, you mentioned this earlier, it was kind of laced in one of your comments. You said something about where we're located, or, geography was tied into it.
I'm
Guys,
sitting in Youngstown, Ohio. Okay,
yes,
we have probably, I'm going to say we have 5 or 10 $100 million or more businesses. Okay,
right,
the
right,
rest are all under that amount,
right.
and you have to and when we sit down and talk about it, you're listening, and other people are saying, "Yeah, we lost $10,000." Well, if somebody else lost $10,000 and it's your friend, now suddenly it's something is happening. Okay, I've heard it happen to someone else. Now I'm willing to listen, but you're not going to see it in the newspapers because it's not big enough. It's not big enough for them to
That's
post.
it.
Perfect.
Awesome. All right. So, Mercy, before we wrap up here, because we try to keep this 45 minutes, but who wants to only talk about cyber insurance for
Okay.
45 minutes? Come on, I could talk about this for hours. So I have, there's a lot of pieces, but when we boil this down, you came in, you said, look, if you're an agent, if you're too small, find someone who can help you with this. If you're growing, it's important that you have some sort of cyber practice lead. If I'm an agent and I'm like, okay, I think I've reached that point where I'm big enough now, I want to start focusing on cyber. What's like one thing I can do to start? Like if I were to say, this is where you should begin, what would your advice be? And obviously this isn't textbook or anything. This is just Mercy's opinion, but where's a good place to start?
Who's going to do it?
Ooh,
Okay,
not
first of
the
all,
answer I was expecting. So I like that.
Well, yeah, but there has to be somebody. Somebody's going to have to be designated, okay? You need to have the person who's willing to take this on. Is it the agency owner? Sometimes it has to be, but if there's somebody else in the agency that is the kind of person that wants to learn things, that's always learning and growing and always looking at designations and that's the person who's going to want to dig into this and say, okay, let me add it. Let me see what I can do. Maybe they don't want to sell it. perfectly fine, but maybe they're the person that wants to work with the brokers and come up with the quotes and say, okay, these three policies are being offered, but this is the better policy. Sell this one. You got to have that person that's going to be scooting around and looking at all that stuff. So find them in your agency. Then here again, if you can't, and it's got to be you, just know it's going to take a lot of time from your other selling probably for a while.
And one thing, Mercy, I think that's 100% spot on. Great advice. The thing that the icing that I would add to that cake, because this is what my boss did with me. I was that person, right? Start internally. Okay. And the reason that I say start internally with your existing accounts is to your point, you're going to screw up. You're going to stumble. You're going to have the armpit sweats, right? Like all of those things are going to happen. Start with the people that you know that you can. They'll give you a little grace, right? You've known them for years. Hey guys, this is a new emerging threat. Have we thought about this? Go ask questions, ask how they've done with it. If you'll start internally, take your boss with you, take the account manager that knows them, right? Ask questions. You're going to, and I believe this, you're going to fail upwards, right?
Yes, you will.
If you're the person, right? If you're the internal person, and the way that you start is going and knocking on cold doors, selling cyber, you're going to pull your hair out by the second week and quit it. I fully believe that.
Absolutely, Andy. I think you're right. Go to the existing clients, start with them, and go to the clients you're really familiar with and say, look, this is something I want to talk to you about. This is something that's fairly new. Or can I use you as somebody that I can practice on? Literally.
That's it.
Some clients, you can say that to. Look, I've got this new stuff. Let me practice on you. And let me show this to you. And they'll do it.
I think about some of the questions that I asked in 2019 and 2020 and some of the things that I said, and I just kind of cringe internally. I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that ever.
I'm telling you, I was standing there at a luncheon, at the country club, and we've got all these clients, and some of them weren't clients, and multi-million-dollar people standing there, and I'm going, oh my God, what am I saying? What am I talking to these people? But I'm the only one that had ever done speaking engagements, so I had to, and it's like, oh Lord. But hey, they listen.
I don't wake up at 2:00 wondering if the doors are locked. I wake up at 2:00 remembering that one time I called a meme in front of a class of 16-year-olds. I think back about professional embarrassment, and I think about some of the stuff that I said early on to our internal guys, and we're just thankful to have that.
Everybody has those moments. When the first time, so I graduated seminary, I went down, I interned at a church in St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands, and the lead pastor told me a story, and he gets up, he said, the first time I ever had to give a benediction at the end of a worship service, he got up there, holds his hands up to the congregation, and then his mind went blank, so he just goes, thank you, and walks away. And that will always stick with me, because I'm like, you know what? Every profession, if you have to get up in front of people, whether it's in front of a crowd or just because you're selling something, you're going to have those moments where you're like, I got to figure this out. I'm learning. It's trial by fire. And cyber is very much that. So to your point, you gotta find some friendlies who you can practice on, right?
Yep.
It's what it is. So
that's what it is.
Any other final thoughts, Mercy, Andy, before we wrap up here?
Well, let me think. What else?
Mercy, where can people learn more? Because you're going to be hitting the road, you said. Is there do you have a website, a LinkedIn?
I've got a website called havemercycyber.com.
Ooh, I like it.
And it's just being revised right now so that I can do more speaking engagements. Because that's what I like to do. I'm just havemercycyber.com.
I like it.
And so it's going to be what I'm going to be doing for the next few years as I come down from production. And basically, I just didn't want to have a quotas anymore. So I'm backing into that instead. Just going to be an independent contractor and going out and seeing people and talking to people and teaching. And I teach lots of different classes. So if somebody wants classes for their groups or something, I can do that, or I can refer them to people that can. And the one nice thing, we all know each other now pretty well, and is call Andy. Andy understands that stuff. I don't understand that stuff. I don't know security. Okay, call Andy. He knows security.
And then I'll
That kind
pass
of
them off
thing.
the wheel, right? Like call
Yeah.
me and then I'll hand them the wheel.
So yeah, I think that I'm going to be just trying to enjoy doing those kinds of things for quite a while now. So it'll be
Awesome.
fun.
Well, Mercy, thanks so much for jumping on
Thank
Hotcakes, our
you.
revival episode.
Yes.
Yeah, there was no doubt. I'll tell you, Mercy, and this is my final thought. When Will and I decided that we were going to relaunch, right, and we kind of were going through the ideas of how we were going to change and make it better, and he was like, "Okay, who's our first guest?" I was like, "Mercy Comer." I didn't even skip a beat. I was like, "We got to have Mercy on, right?" Because we knew that the message was going to be more directed to agencies, right? We want to foster those relationships, help agents do it better. And we, we're like, hey, nobody better than her there. And I'll leave you with this, Mercy. This is a little bit of encouragement for the road. I know I have my Cubs hat on. I acknowledge the fact that at some point in our team's history, we played a World Series against each other. We're not going to go down that road. Even with that history in my house, if you go outside of Chicago, Jose Ramirez is our favorite baseball player. Hands down, not even close. So
Yeah, he's fabulous, and I'll tell you, there's so many of them that have stepped up. John Kenzie Noel last night. I mean, people hitting home runs that you just don't expect to hit home runs. But yeah, Jose,
we love
nice
Jose
man.
at our house. My
Yeah.
son's a switch hitter. Jose's a switch hitter.
Oh
We're
yeah.
small guys. He's a small guy. The dude's got a great personality. He's got good salsa. I got one of my buddies, an Indians fan or Guardians now, brought me some Jose Ramirez salsa one time. So we love Jose at our
He's
house.
good. He's good.
Mercy,
Gentlemen, thank you for having me on. I love
the
doing these
audience is
kinds of
so
things.
happy you're here, and I don't really know how to play that. Oh, there we go. Look at that. The live studio audience is so pumped you're here. Thank you for that awesome first revival episode of Hotcakes. It was great to have you on. And everybody, reach out to Mercy. Check her out on LinkedIn. The links earlier in the video. I don't know how. I guess I can put it back up one more time. I
Thank
think
you much, guys.
so. Thanks again.
Thank
See
you.
you all very, very soon. See if I can figure out how to run this. Let's go.